Move my almond flour. Hey, you guys, how are y'all? It's Wednesday, and I'm here to cook and talk to you guys about smidgen. So, there's a lot going on in this kitchen today. Look, cooking classes are rolling again. We had a beautiful class last night, all about chilies. Lily is teaching a private class tomorrow. We've got, we've actually have tons of private classes coming up. We got jams and jellies tonight. What? And in this new big kitchen, everybody makes their own jams and jellies. So we're really excited. So I want to see who's here with me. We have got some wacky weather to get today. So I hope some of you guys join us. But I think Reagan's in here with us. But I am going to pull my salmon over because I'm going to start searing my salmon and then talk to you about why I'm making this dish. So let me just wait for a second to see if I hear from Reagan. And I hope you guys are having a great day. We've had a full day in the kitchen today. So I've got some salmon fillets, skin on, and what I've done on this skin side is just salt and pepper. So just salt and pepper on the skin side, and then the way we're going to season it is once it hits the skillet. So let me get my heat up here because I'm going to go in with harissa extra virgin olive oil and let that shimmer and dance a little bit. And then I'm going to put that in skin side down, and then we're not going to move them for 4 minutes. So this recipe is from Ottolenghi, who is one of our favorite chefs and cookbook authors. My favorite book of his is Jerusalem. And this was the point when I was going to hold it up like this and show y'all, but I forgot it. So maybe Reagan will put a link to it. But we do a class called Cook the Book, and we cook um, from a lot of his books because his recipes are a really interesting stretch from things that I've been familiar with all my life. So in this episode of Smidgen that we're cooking for and talking about, it's all about cooking ruts. And let me drop my salmon. All right, skin side down, and then a nice person who's here with me is going to set a 4 minute timer. We've got a kitchen full today. All right. So I've got them down and I'm going to crank my heat up. I need a little bit more action happening, but I want to see some good bubbles around the edges. I think you guys can see that. And now that the other side is facing up, now I'm going to season it. So I'm going to take my shawarma seasoning and season the side that's facing up. So this episode of Smidgen, my podcast, was all about cooking ruts. And I took a deep dive into cooking ruts because even though I feel like I know a little bit about cooking, I'm a chef, I know food, I still get into ruts. And I was curious about why. And here I am, I found a great article from Bon Appetit, and they interviewed Deb Perlman, and she has Smitten Kitchen. It's a really popular food blog. And she had a great little exercise. She said, watch what I'm going to do. My oil is pooling on one side, so I'm just going to tilt to get that distributed. And that's harissa oil. Really beautiful, strong flavor profile. So Deb Perlman suggested that first of all, if you're in a cooking rut, that first of all, you figure out what your base flavor profile is. And she said, think of avocado toast. How would you season it? So Catherine and I talked about it on the podcast. I'm definitely going for salt, everything blend, garlicky, oniony, those kinds of flavors. And, I asked other people and they were like, oh no, I want lemon and some heat on there. So When you understand your base flavor profile, those flavors that sort of never let you down, then you'll start to understand what you're doing with cooking. And immediately I realized that when I have a recipe that doesn't have garlic, I add garlic. Or if it has a recipe, something I don't love, which are like really briny flavors. I don't want to eat a lot of capers. I want a caper here or there. Sometimes I'll skip the capers in those recipes. And what Deb Perlman said was that's a mistake. You need to go ahead and explore those flavors and watch what you do with recipes when you go to eliminate certain ingredients. And I thought that was fascinating. The other thing she suggested was to find a recipe that was off your beaten path, a little different for you, and follow it to the letter. Don't sub anything, don't add anything, don't change it. Start with a good, reputable recipe, of course, and you can't go wrong with Ottolenghi and any of his books. So, one of my greatest teachers, I already knew this because one of my greatest teachers for trying out new recipes and just following them to the letter is Lily, who teaches here. She is the perfect person to explore a new recipe because she doesn't go into it saying, well, I'm going to change this, or they should have done this. She follows it to the letter from the beginning, and then we see what happens. And we've gotten Lily's here with me, by the way, and and she's like, I've been telling you this for years, and you had to do your own research. Okay, so I am watching my heat here. I'm getting a little bit of smoking. Lily really wants me to poke and prod this. She wants to give me a fish spatula, and we're not touching this. 4 minutes, y'all. What we're doing is we're going to manage our heat. I'm going to lower my heat to stop this smoking, but I guarantee you that skin is going to let up and release and be crispy. Look, she's here with her fish spatula. She really wants me to turn this. And you know I like tongs. So, oh, it's coming up perfectly. Y'all, it's crispy. It's perfect. It released from the pan. Look, I'm on close up, even though I didn't mean to do that. What? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so now what do? We lower the heat. So now we've got our crispy side. We're cooked, I would say 30% of the way through already on that one side. And I haven't even started the salsa, but I'm going to do it. Um, and we'll go about 3 minutes. I eat my salmon a little beyond medium. I don't eat it medium or medium rare. So I'm okay to go a little bit further. So now, following this recipe to the letter, this Ottolenghi recipe to the letter, backstory. Let me start this. In my pot is, let me show you, quarter cup of our harissa olive oil. And I'm going to bring up this heat a little bit because what we're going to do, and look, I love Ottolenghi's salsas. You know, we have another recipe that we do that he calls it a salsa. And I'm like, how's that a salsa? But it's a mixture of crunchy things and briny things and all this delicious stuff. So I'm going in with celery and then pine nuts. And they need a little bit of a rough chop. So that heat needs to come up a little bit. But you're going to saute celery and pine nuts, and then you're going to go in with all these other really interesting ingredients. Oh, and Alana left me some celery to chop with you guys. So this recipe, do you watch chick flicks at all, Lily?
Chick flick?
Yeah, movies.
Oh, chick flick. I thought that was a movie.
So I don't
No,
watch them.
I live with men.
I don't watch them, so I had to Google this. But this recipe that you can find in Ottolenghi's cookbooks, and I even think for a time at his restaurants. So in the one of the Bridget Jones chick flicks, he says, "I'm going to make you this. crispy salmon with this salsa. And the movie came out and everyone started asking about this dish. And he was like, I don't have that dish. Like they made that up. So then he made the dish.
Ah,
So now the dish is a
gotcha.
real thing.
Yeah.
It's in his cookbooks and at his restaurant. Um, so I thought that was really funny, even though I don't watch chick flicks. Okay, so now I've got celery, pine nuts. Now we need to be careful because we don't want to burn these pine nuts. So I'm going to manage my heat, and it's a little aggressive right now. Y'all don't want to leave any pine nuts behind. Okay, celery, pine nuts. And look, there's a couple of ingredients coming up. Had I not known I need to do this exercise, would have left them out. The olives, maybe halved the currants. Like,
Oh, you love currants. You love
isn't
currants
that
and pine nuts,
funny?
but you like currants and pine nuts.
So I want you to think about that. What are you putting on your avocado toast? I thought that was a great
I'm going
exercise.
flaky salt and Aleppo pepper flakes.
And pepper and salt?
Yeah, Aleppo.
Okay. So a little bit of heat and
And some
salt. I
heat.
think everybody wants salt, but it was interesting to find out
They don't
who
want a fried egg.
wanted lemon, who wanted a little bit of balsamic.
No, I want a fried egg on top of that.
Oh, and a fried egg
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, your
All
3
right.
minutes are up. You all right?
All right. Going in. Me either. Hey, Michael, I would have never put these together. But so your homework here is to find that recipe and follow it to the letter, and don't make any subs based on now what you know is your familiar flavor profile. Okay, so these are sauteing. I'm going to crank up my heat a little bit because they do want the celery to brown just a little. So I'm going to come up on this heat. My salmon, I can still tell my salmon's medium, so my heat is so low. Everything's fine. But I'm going to crank up this heat a little bit. And oh, did you bring me that from my saffron?
Yeah, I'm
It
thinking.
goes in with the liquid.
Oh, you want all of it?
Yeah. All right, let me show you all what this looks like because it's deceiving that it's browning. It's not browning. It's the harissa oil has that really lively flavor. So that's what that looks like. But we want to get a little bit of color on that. And then you shut off the heat, you add in your other ingredients, and you're off to the races. So the other ingredients are brininess on top of brininess on top of brininess with some sweetness. So you have capers, you have the brine from your jar of capers. Don't throw that out. You've got some green olives chopped. Then we're going to bring in a really distinct and rich flavor. Really, nothing else like tastes like saffron. So I've got a pinch of saffron that I've been blooming in water, and the water goes in. And then I have currants. So currants are, I guess, in the raisin kind of world.
It's a berry.
It's a berry that is dried. They are very small. I plumped them up with hot water and drained the water. You could do that in some wine if you wanted to. But these are looking great. It's getting softer and it is browning. So I want to get a little bit more color on this. And then I am going to pull my salmon. I'm just going to make as much noise
I was gonna
as
say.
possible. Okay. So I hope Reagan has found the cauliflower with the walnut caper salsa.
Yeah, that's what
That
I'm thinking.
how many times have we made
And it's
that?
perfect.
It's perfection. And that is a recipe I would have gone off script in a second. Lily didn't let me. And here we are with one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth. Like, so good. Okay, so this celery and capers have gained a little bit of color and they've been sauteing away. And I can tell my celery's just a little bit softened. And then we're going to stop and in goes everything else. So heat is off. And the first thing that I'm going to do is zest my lemon. You need about a teaspoon. So I'm just going to eyeball it here with my microplane and watch how much I build up. and get my lemon in there. And then I'm going to juice the lemon, about a half a lemon. I only need a teaspoon. So zesting a lemon after you juice it, not advised. How many times have we done that?
Not a good move.
No. So I do not have a juicer. Would you find me one?
Mm-hmm.
I need a squeezer.
Oh, I thought you like. Oh,
It's right here. He's got me. Y'all, there's so many people here. Okay. So I'm going in with my lemon juice. All right. Caper, caper brine, olives. We're going in with currants, and then that saffron with the liquid. So you've got this warm, crunchy, tangy, brown, briny salsa topping. I still have a hard time calling it a salsa, but I understand what he's doing. And so just absolutely beautiful. And then we used our celery leaves. I'm going to go ahead. You could use these to garnish on top of the salmon, but I'm going to chop them into the topping along with parsley. This is another thing. For years in recipe, years I skipped the parsley. And we don't need that.
Oh no.
That's just
And you can use the stems.
that's that green leaf on my chicken plate at a banquet. And we have you. How much parsley do we use?
Yeah.
Like
It's got great flavor.
bushels. All right, so I'm going to go through this just a couple of times. And what's going to happen is it's going to give it vibrant color and it's going to give it instant, fresh lift. Because this topping has a lot going on in terms of flavor. And especially when you start playing around with saffron, it can start to feel really rich and
Smell it.
yeah, it needs to be have that layer of lightness and brightness, and that's what things like parsley and celery leaves will do. And you can use celery leaves in a pinch. You can use them if you've forgotten parsley. I've used them um, when something called for just a little bit of fresh basil, and I didn't have it, but I have celery and y'all. That changed everything. Okay, let me show you what that looks like. Bright, beautiful, it smells wonderful. And then you just dollop that on top of the salmon and drizzle a little bit of that liquid. And that came together really quickly. And that is some kind of complexity going on with those ingredients. All right. Let me clean up my mess a little, and then I'm going to plate it and take a bite. And I'm excited.
Me too.
So I'm going to go skin side up. I'm going to grab this guy. Skin side up.
Skin side up.
I am going to eat it skin side up. Yeah. Because look what Alana sent me. She sent me a steak knife. So that is, yeah, I'm going to be able to cut right through it. All right. Salmon skin side up. And I think y'all lost me just for a second. Did my audio go away? I'm back. A little bit of that there. Then a little bit on top. And look at that.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful. It's fresh. It's from a chick flick. Impress your friends with the salmon from Bridget Jones.
That's a cute 15
I don't even know what Bridget Jones is. And yeah, we haven't been here 25 minutes. So I'm going to take a bite and talk to you guys with my mouth full because that's what I do on Red Stick Spice. But I talk all about this and all the other tips to get out of cooking ruts on Smidgen. So be sure to listen. I found out some really fun things that you can try to get out of food cooking ruts, and I'd love for you to listen all your podcast apps. So we'll see you on Smidgen. Let us know how you like it, and I'm gonna take a bite. Come on,
No doubt.
that's so good. Don't skip any of those ingredients. So delicious, you guys. Okay, see you next time. Bye.